Hi, thanks for joining us today. We're going to have a little cook along sort of thing with a few pictures of how we can create beautiful vegan, vegetarian, plant-based meals using store cupboard ingredients. This one I made for Easter Sunday. I fancied like a kind of pie pot roast type thing. It was the first time I used rice flour, so the pastry didn't come out too well, but I just saw it as it was already sectioned, ready to just cut, so it did well for us. So in this pan I'm mixing onions and carrots together, and then I add a bit of garam masala, turmeric, cumin, garlic powder as well. And during this time there's some things that we just don't have, and I tend to be quite versatile in my cooking, and I've learned how to cook with what's in. And today was one of those days where I didn't have garlic, so I used garlic powder and it worked well. I like to use the term cook with what's in because I think that sometimes recipes make you waste money or spend money unnecessarily when you can use things within your cupboard and just be more creative with it. These are all pre-boiled, pre-soaked, pre-boiled, and then I freeze beans and lentils in batches so that I have enough to cook throughout the weeks. I've added tomatoes to this, so I mix it all together, and this meal by itself with rice would be fine, but I just fancied something quite soft and mushy with breadcrumbs on top. And I forgot to take a picture, sorry, but if you go onto our video of Easter you will see the video of it in full, but that was the picture of the last portion, which I ate in the evening. On to the next. This is how I stretched. This is a completely different meal. I stretched this meal into 2 days. So previously you saw that I boiled some chickpeas. They were previously soaked the day before. The chickpeas I tend to boil in the morning when I'm making the breakfast, and then after breakfast I cook it down so that the main part of the meal is done and prepared. I also make salads and stuff like that at the start of the day near breakfast. It's always a case of trying to be creative but also be tasty, so that's really important to have lots of flavour in the food. And so make sure there's plenty of that, and in one area if it lacks I buff it up in another area, as you saw the coconut water. This method of cooking also suits other beans and lentils or peas, so feel free to use any with the same method. I also like little surprise side dishes as well, and on this day I fancied some sweet baked cauliflower. So I tossed the cauliflower in some mixed herbs, salt and pepper, and banged it in the oven for about 20 minutes, if that. We had it with brown rice. I have bowls for the adults, little cappuccino cups for the children, and this helps with portion control because I can get carried away. So this is the finished meal with the salad, the chickpeas, and also the cauliflower, roasted cauliflower. And that went down a treat. It's making me hungry. Anyway, right, so day two. Day two, I had about a quarter of the chickpeas left. They were in the fridge obviously, so they were nice and chilled. So what I made was a brown rice veg mix type thing, because I fancied pastry on this day. So I thought, okay, well I'm going to make a pastry. I'm going to make mixed veg rice and then put some of the chickpeas in with spinach and stuff, and then put it in pastry. So then we've got like a whole dinner in a pastry, and then have a little side portion of rice for those that like to eat a bit more, like myself. So anyway, that's the pastry ingredients that I use, the recipe, and it's all gluten-free as well. It's friendly for gluten-free flour. You might have to give it a bit more extra love or take it out the fridge a little bit earlier than usual so that it kind of gets to room temperature before you roll. But I don't have any problems with gluten-free flour. Rice flour now is a bit crumbly, but Just the ordinary gluten-free flour is fine. We use Dove's Farm. I always store it in the fridge for about an hour after I've made it as well. We love roast potatoes. You'll see with most of our dinners, there's roasters, there's some kind of potato fix. So on this day, I wanted a bit of gravy to go with it as well. So this is how I usually make my gravy. I tend to use Vitalite or I use coconut oil. Added some rice flour on this occasion to the pot, and then I added water and tomatoes and simmered it down, which then can be blended down as a gravy once you finish if you want to. I added also the juice from the soaked and boiled red kidney beans as well. I always boil my beans, lentils, pulses, everything's boiled with a Scotch bonnet for extra flavour. If it's a big pot, I'll break the Scotch bonnet and let it travel through. But sometimes if it's not a big pot, I won't. So I remember to take that out so that I didn't burn everyone's mouths off. And I wash my Scotch bonnets. I wash them with kettle water and put them back in the freezer. I keep them in the freezer and they keep longer then. And when I've used them, there's still flavour in them and there's still heat. So once the brown veg rice was cooked, I put some in a colander and mixed the chickpeas from the day before with a bit of spinach, and just so it could cool down fast. Mix it together, let it cool further, and then when I felt it was cool enough, I got the pastry out and started making the patties. The lovely patties. So I just rolled them out and used the bowl that I use for serving the adult portions of rice to make the circle. Pop the filling in and press down the sides. By this time I was very hungry and shaking. That's my exaggeration, but I was shaking. So I had a slice of toast as well. But yeah, if you're like me, I like to eat toast while I'm cooking. Anyway, so get the sides down, bung them on the tray, get them in the oven. Don't worry about cracks and bits, they're easily shaped up. I also like to save a little bit of pastry for the following evening as well, make a little bit more. And there's the roasters, and there's the finished meal. I like to add a bit of bulk to the dinners because I don't like to be hungry again. It really could have been a meal by itself with the potatoes, salad and gravy with the veggie and the patty, but you know, Sim being Sim, she added a little nice little bowl of rice to go with it. So I'd now like to share with you a few pictures of a few tasty dinners that I've made over time, dinners and side dishes. And if you do have any questions, just comment below and I'll either talk you through, give recipes or guide you. And if you do have any suggestions, please leave them below because we're always out for new ideas. We like to use fresh vegetables and make things like chips with pumpkin, fritters with marrow. We do have oven food occasionally, very, very little, but we do. And when we do, we pack it with all the good stuff that you can have as a side dish. On to beverages. We have what we call a water station that we fill up from the morning right through to about 5:30. We fill up with water and the children just help themselves all day. We find that so much easier than responding to everyone's drinks requests. From the fresh juices and waters, we also love green smoothies. We love our green smoothies. The children really love smoothies and it's a highlight of the day if they're having a smoothie. So on this particular occasion we use spinach, frozen banana, some of the packet goodness that you saw earlier on with coconut water for that extra natural sweetness. I store them in jars and put them into the fridge so that they have time to set. When I bring them out, as you can see, they're drained. I love them, and really they'd be a lot cleaner than that if I didn't say, okay, you're finished now. We tend to eat a lot of porridges in the morning for breakfast, but on the occasions we do have cereals as well, and if we do, pack it with lots of fruit. So as a part of healthier food choices and lifestyle, it doesn't mean necessarily missing out on what's considered as the treats. So we do have things like biscuits and cakes and stuff like that, but we tend to bake rather than buy in. We do buy on the odd occasion, very odd, but usually we bake, and we bake lots of different cakes and goodies. I tend to make them and freeze them in batches, portion batches, so that if I defrost them, it's enough for all of us to have one each or a slice each. But then there's still some saved in the freezer for another time. And you know what's in it because you made it. This was the chocolate cake that I made for Easter Sunday actually, and it went down really well. I did cut that in half and froze half of it, so I know that we've got half a chocolate cake there if we have a week where I haven't made any biscuits or cakes or anything like that. We'll just defrost it on that day and have it as a treat. A massive part of our lifestyle, even in lockdown, is to get fresh air. We go for walks daily or every other day. We go to our local countrysides because we're blessed with the beautiful countryside surrounding us, and we visit the local stream, reservoir, and just have a nice natural walk or ride, and that tends to bring on a nice appetite for when we get in. Now, because I'm prepared from the morning, it means that we eat well when we get back too. So it's so nice to come back to a nice, well-balanced meal. So I hope you've enjoyed our kind of cook as you go type, cook with what's in, store cupboard type recipe guide, and I hope you've gained something from it. If you do have any suggestions or advice, please leave them in the comments below. Or if you do have any questions, as I said, just get straight to us and we'll get back to you. Thank you so much for watching. And whilst you're there, actually, why not subscribe and tick the notification bell so that you're notified of new releases, or just catch up on our videos from the past and present videos. And here's a few thumbnails of the ones that we have out so far. Thank you. See you next time.